Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cardistry Talk. This is episode 5. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Hsieh. I said the last name correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. That's what I thought based on how you have the Instagram worded.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That's yeah.
yeah, so really happy to have you on the show, obviously. If you guys haven't seen his stuff, he makes really awesome cardistry edits on Instagram. A lot of technical loops and edits with his videos, and they look super great. So obviously you haven't always been this editing powerhouse. How did you get started into cardistry, and then how did editing the videos kind of come about?
Yeah, so I like most people, I started with magic. Um my older brother was doing magic, so I just decided, oh, that seems cool, right? He does cool things and people are surprised. So I tried out magic. And I learned some tricks, some basic tricks, but with magic, like I have a I have a really low patience level, so it takes a while to practice, and then you have to set up the trick, you perform it, and there's the cool climax. And so for me, it just I kind of lost magic after like a year. So I did magic for like a year, and then I kind of lost interest. And then there was a year of like I didn't really do any cards, but then I'm not really sure, but I got into cardistry back. I got back into cards somehow, and I saw cardistry, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." Because it, I really like things that you look at it and you see it just looks natural, like naturally cool. Um, and so I decided, you know what, I want to learn something like that. I want to be like that. So I learned a few moves, and it went from there. I actually, yeah, and I think I started with cardistry first, and then I wanted to, because I was after like a, a half a year after I started cardistry, I started photography. So I started taking pictures of like trees and stuff like that, and then I wanted a way to incorporate both cardistry and photography in one thing. So I started taking pictures with cards and just simple pictures of me doing shuffles, and then I started getting into Photoshop. And you can see, if you go back into my Instagram in my first few pictures with my cards, you can see I did a lot of photoshopping, and I added like cool graphics and stuff like that. And so that's where I really started playing around with cameras and cards, because my goal was like to enhance the cardistry, because um, I some moves I couldn't really master, so I wanted to make a way to make it look really cool. And for me, that was using cameras and Photoshop and stuff like that. And so eventually, like a year or year and a half after I've been taking pictures with the cards, I just started into video. I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to try video. So my first few videos they're not the best. I set up the camera and I tried filming the moves, and obviously, like when I was doing the moves, it was very like choppy and not smooth. But it was a starting point, and I think I don't know when I first saw his videos, but my big inspiration is Shano. You know him?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
personally, but obviously
yeah,
his
yeah.
videos.
He was a big inspiration, just like the way he incorporated music and then like flow and the cuts and the beats of the video. That really inspired me, and so I was like, I want to do something like that. And so um, I was like learning so much video stuff. Like I was watching all the tutorials on YouTube with cool effects and what to do. And so eventually I built up this big repertoire of like video effects I could do. And I started incorporating it into my cardistry videos. And in the beginning, I mainly just I put all the effects I could. I was like, this effect, that effect. If anything I learned, I put it into the video, no matter what. And even if it looked bad, I just wanted to do the effect. And then eventually I found out that it's sometimes it's good to keep it simpler.
Mhm.
um and so I'm thinking more like with the theme of the deck, and like if the deck is like very like hip hop or like street style art type deck, I would use hip hop music and maybe like cool zoom transitions or like fast beats. And then if it's more of like a laid back type deck, I would use slower music and slower cuts and things like that. And so that's basically how I got to doing videos of cardistry.
Yeah, so that's super cool. I think going back to the beginning of what you say, talking about magic and cardistry, I think magic has like you have to like there's this build up and then there's
Yeah,
this huge release, whereas cardistry is immediately impressive and cool to look at.
yeah. Like it's like you can't really explain it, but it just looks good, right? It's yeah. There's something about it. I think a good example, or like an analogy, I think cardish or magic is more, well, there's a lot of really good, like modern magic I've seen, but magic just seems more traditional, and it feels more like, no, I respect magician. I really respect magicians, but one comparison I could think of is, magic is like the classic cars, and cardistry is like the new
Mm.
sports cars and things like that. Not saying that cardistry is ultimately better, but it's different, you know.
It's
Magic,
newer, it's flashier,
yeah, cardistry,
and
yeah, that
it's much easier to
exactly,
create new stuff
yeah,
with cardistry. So it's a lot easier to get excited. So yeah, I think that's a good
yeah,
analogy. I really like that you point out like that uh, some of the stuff you've learned as you've gone. So like you said, like over editing early on to where now you
mm,
kind of have a certain vision that you can use what you've learned. But I think what's really important is for people to get started, like you said, to get those building blocks that they can use in the future. Because I'm sure people will probably see like videos that you or Sean O makes, and they don't see that there was a starting point.
yeah.
They just see what's new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because recently I've been looking back at my old videos, and I've been realizing how much I've improved, and how different my style has gotten. Like, um, before, like I said, I was like incorporating all the effects I could, and I was not being mindful of the theme or the pacing of the video. Um, but now, like, I'm trying to learn something new each week or each month, like a new effect or a new way to film cards or something like that, and I incorporate that into my videos. So I keep on trying to learn new things with either video editing or shooting cardistry in a different way. um, and so that's really helping me to keep on improving my videos and leveling them up each time. And yeah, I wouldn't have gotten here if I, didn't try anything. It all started with me thinking, oh, video is cool, maybe I'll try that.
Mm-hmm. Just start with something you enjoy. That's
Yeah.
really important. When you go about like starting to make these videos, how do you kind of get into that creative frame of mind for both
Mhm.
editing and then performing as well?
Yeah, so it really revolves, there are two things it revolves around. For my cardistry videos, I really think about the deck and the style and theme of the deck. For example, with peelers, the organic playing cards, it was really, with this one, it was like, it was gold. But also I was inspired by Cam's trailer with like being in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point when I saw the trailer, I was just in the middle of making the idea, um, for the video. And so I decided I could go in my backyard, and there are some nice green trees and leaves and bushes there. So I could film there. And that's what I did. And so that whole style revolved around, or the video revolved around like adventurous and and nature and thing and that realm. And so I also kept the colors in that same tone. So everything was like yellow or green and in that general area. And so that's how the theme came in. And so what I also do is I use music. Music really shapes my videos. It defines really like the pacing of the video, whether it's fast or slow. Um, and so um I there it goes two ways. I decide the music based on the moves I'm performing in the video, but I also decide the moves based on the music, so they go hand in hand. um because what I like to do is I like, for example, in moments like, let's say Sybil, and you go boom, and there's that moment where you go out. I would like to have like some beat in the music or something exciting in the music happen when that part happens. And so that really shapes my creative process. And so when I'm like thinking of ideas, or yeah, thinking of ideas when shooting videos, I most likely pick the music in the beginning, and I just listen to that same song over and over again. And so I get in the mood and I think of what move would look good for the deck. Um, and then with the editing process, what I basically try to do is, enhance the cardistry and make it look as good as it can with the music. So what I yeah so what I do is I, like I said before, I make the beats happen on actions of cardistry. And so like, let's say if I toss the deck in the air, right, and at the apex, so the deck goes up and then it goes down at the apex, usually I have a beat, and then when it lands back in my hand, there's another beat. And so music is a really big factor in how I make videos.
Hmm. Yeah, so kind of matching and molding
Yeah,
everything, the cards, the music, and the moves into kind of one cohesive thing where it all kind of
yeah.
meshes.
And I
Um,
just wanted to, like, when you're watching it, I don't want you to feel like you're watching me performing cardistry. I just want you to feel like you're there and just feel like everything is naturally the way it's supposed to be. Like it just feels smooth and right. That's my goal.
that's very cool. So on Instagram, I posted that you were going to be on the show, asking
Hmm.
some people for some questions. We kind of going over how you kind of edit videos a little bit, but one of the other questions that was pretty common is do you have any basic tips, any ideas about how to make other people's videos a little bit better that might be overlooked?
Hmm. Um, One big thing I would say, actually, I'll say two, is one is lighting. That's really important, because if the video, you can, even if you don't like let's say my grandparents or something, they don't, they're not videographers or photographers or anything like that, but they can probably tell when a video doesn't look the best, like if it's like not shot in a really nice lighting environment. So what I would recommend is the best way to light your videos, I would think, is like next to a giant window, right? So and here in my room, I have two windows. I have one right here and one right here, and so that really helps with this. So it's not that dark, and so I get good lighting on my face. And when I film my videos, I try to do the same thing. I try to get the best lighting as possible, so my video looks the cleanest and the sharpest. But I also, you can play around with the lighting. For example, with this deck, it's a pretty bright light theme. So I shot it outside on a bright day. So
Mhm.
the overall feel was lighthearted and bright. Yeah, where like more of a darker theme, you could like maybe close all your windows and then have just one light. So it's very like dramatic. And so playing around with lighting really helps. And there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube with like lighting theory and things like that. And another tip I would say I just started thinking of this recently is it's just smoothness of your how you perform your moves because ultimately a cardistry video revolves around the cardistry, right? The actions that happen. And so if the moves aren't smooth, um, it's hard to fix it in video. I've tried before, like for my past videos, what I would do is I learn a move and 2 days later I try filming the move. And personally, I don't think that's enough time to master a move enough to perform it in a video. And so what I've been doing recently is I've been I've been learning a lot of moves, but also taking time to really practice them and make sure they're smooth before I put them in my videos, so that everything goes smoothly when my moves are performed well.
Hmm. So I don't know if this is gonna pop up when the video goes up, but there's like a little bit of um, like Wi-Fi mumbo jumbo where you're distorted a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit just now, but um, I'm sure the point got across that you were talking about. Yeah, I should be jotting these down because like I haven't really worked on making my own videos yet, and I'm definitely not very photography knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So another question we had from the Instagram post was someone was wanting to know Troy. Let me look at it. What was it? It was Troy. Call me Troy Seven. Wanted to know what your top five decks were. Your top five favorite.
Oh, yeah. That's really changing all the time for me. But at the moment, I think I've got the decks here. At the moment, I've got, these are all pretty like modern looking decks. So at the top, I would say right now for me, it's the Orbit V7s. I really like the color. Right now, I'm really into like bluish red, purple, pink cards, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of cool kind of cards. And so that right now is my top one. And then I think for my second, I would have to say it's between these two, Luke Wade's new cards and the Cardistry Touch. These two, I really like. With the Cardistry Touch, I really like the the blue back or the face design.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's so like satisfying for me to look at. It just feels so smooth. And then with Luke Wade's deck, I really like the color scheme and like the simpleness, but also the complexness. Like it's simple in like it's it's easy to like you can look at it and you don't have to think about it too much. You just know it looks good. But also there's a lot of different little details that I really like. And third, this is tough. I think third I would have to do uh the yeah, um the new flatline cards. I really like it. Just again, it's like simple, and I really like the red. Red is like my favorite color too. It changes kind of, but right now I'm really into the red and warmer tones, and so I really like that. And speaking of red, my fourth deck I think would probably have to be the Superfly Spitfire Reds. There's something about it. It's so like it's very modern and like artistic. Um, I really like a lot of Gemini's decks. Um, yeah, it's really like I don't know. It's like Luke Lady's deck. It's simple but it's complex, and I really like that. Has a very good style to it. And then my last deck, I at the moment is I think these by Riffle Shuffle, the pink version of the Jerry's Nugget. I don't know. I really like the color. Um, it's it's just it's like a very pastel and lighthearted theme. So I really like those. Yeah. So those are my top five decks at the moment. They'll probably change like next month or something.
Yeah, there's always constantly cards coming out. There's so many
Yeah.
great decks coming out. I can, like you said, I can really tell the pink and the purples and the red
Yeah.
and blues, kind of like the 80s aesthetic almost. Kind of
Yeah.
you and what you were picking. Um, just to point out too, the flatliners, and then what was the purple deck?
Luke Wade's
Ladies.
Mono Hexa.
Yeah, those two
Yeah.
have Kickstarters going on right now. So if you guys are interested in those decks,
Yep.
you can check them out there. Their campaigns are currently going. Um, so yeah, those are some great picks. I love Orbit for sure. Unfortunately, I've gotten into cardistry too late, so I can't like get any of the older ones without
Yeah.
breaking the bank. But
My Orbit collection, it starts from the V5s, the blue ones, or the light blue ones, and then I have the V6s and the V7s now, and the V7P. So I still have like I still don't have the first, second, third, and fourth, right? Because I got into cardistry like 2 years ago.
mhm.
Um, so I wasn't really I was just new to it, and even 2 years ago, I don't think um, the first edition was still pretty rare. Um, and so yeah, that that is I'm usually not too worried about like finishing collections and things like that. Um, but with the orbits, there's something about it. It just it's 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 like an empty part of me that I want to finish it, but I can't. Yeah, so maybe one day.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not like big on collecting, but like for me, at least organic and Orbit are like the two that I want to eventually have
Yeah.
all the decks because those are the two brands I relate to best. So talking about Orbit too, the Portland 2019 Cardistry Con, they had the deck that was kind of inspired by Orbit. I think I'm remembering this right, maybe not. Um, but you went to the Cardistry Con in Portland, right?
Oh yes, yeah. That
Did you go
was
to
that was amazing.
yeah, was that the first time you met any other cardists, or how do you meet people?
Yeah, that was the first time I went to a Cardistry Con and met any cardists because, well, I live in like a pretty small city, um, and I haven't met any other than my brother who was into magic for a little bit. I hadn't really met anyone that was into cards and that like understood what it feels like to like shuffling cards and things like that. And so when I went to Con, it was bizarre because like everyone was shuffling, everyone was talking about cards, and everyone was picking up cards from the ground, and it was a normal thing to do. Um, and so it's really cool to be able to talk to people and see what it's like at Con. Yeah,
Mhm.
and like watch like reacting to videos and things like that with everyone else. It was really fun because like when I'm at home and I watch cardistry videos on YouTube, I react to it. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But I'm the only one in my house who thinks like that.
Mhm.
Everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But it's really nice having everyone like around you scream at the same time when a really cool move comes up or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like for cardistry too, you kind of almost need to have like a knowledge of what's already been done
Hmm.
because to like a layman, everything's gonna look
The
new.
same.
Yeah, it all
Yeah.
looks the same. So if they see like this big new move, they're like, oh, it's the same as everything else. Whereas we know, like as cardists, one, how
Yeah.
difficult it is, and
Yeah.
one, that it's never been done before. So
Yeah.
it's a totally different watching experience. Watching with people who know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, what was it like meeting? I saw on Instagram you have a story highlight meeting some of your, I'm assuming some of
Mhm.
your inspirations, like the
Yeah,
graphic.
that was like I can't put it into words. It's like um it's yeah, it really like it made me think like before I was like, oh, those guys, they're like I couldn't really put it into perspective because they're just so big and things and they're doing really good stuff. And I was just a little kid trying to do his best. And so when I met them, it was like it's like it felt like because the cardistry community, you know, it's relatively small. So it made me realize that, you know, they're not that, I mean, they've achieved really great things, but they're not that far ahead. Like, I can do that same thing too. So it made me realize, like, I can do that too. If I put the effort in, if I work hard, and I practice and I keep on doing cardistry, I can achieve great things as well. So
Hmm. They kind of like some of the greats. You kind of get like this like unobtainable almost viewpoint as it
yeah,
looking at them, but then you meet them in person. You're like they're just regular guys, just like
yeah,
anybody else,
they're just normal
and
people.
they've just put in the work or
Yeah,
have like that creative mindset.
yeah. People,
So.
like, I feel like a lot of times, people don't realize how much work goes behind success. Like, you only see what the outcome is, you don't see all the hard work behind it, and so it's hard to appreciate it sometimes. So when I got to meet them, I really realized how much work they put in to get there.
Hmm. It's really um, crazy the amount of time you can put into certain moves to get them down smoothly. And like some of these guys have been doing it for like years. Like
Yeah.
you were probably like a little kid.
Yeah.
um, so being a little bit of the younger age too, how do your peers kind of react to what you do with cardistry?
Yeah. So, well, my friends at school, um, they they just think of it. Um, hmm, how do I say this? They're like, it's like, uh, it's like it's not they don't think much of it, but they're used to me doing card stuff. But I feel like, since we're like close and we're friends, like that, they don't think of it too much as, I am a cardist and they know me as a cardist. They more know me as Andrew, as a friend from school who I met, I don't know, in math class or whatever, who happens to just shuffle cards. So it's like you meet a new friend and then he tells you, like, oh yeah, I'm really good at these video games. Like, you don't really remember him as the video game guy. You just remember him by his name and who he is. And so I think that's the way my friends see me. They're more comfortable with the idea that I just shuffle cards, I guess.
Mhm.
um, and so they yeah, since most, I guess all of them aren't in the cardistry community, um, they don't, their perspective is different with my photos and videos, rather than thinking of it as like something, like, if they were in the cardistry community, you would most likely see me as, um, the guy who makes cool photos and videos with the cards. But they think of me most likely as the guy who has a hobby of photography and videography, and cards is one thing that he films and shoots. So that's probably how my friends think of me.
Mhm. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird, like trying to describe how someone else would look at
Yeah.
you. It's kind of cool though, like seeing um, how it kind of normalizes cardistry with you have
Hmm.
friends and other people looking at it.
Yeah.
That it's become more of like a hobby and for
Yeah.
others to view. So another hobby that I've seen you post about and talk about a little bit on Instagram is running.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in kind of how you got into that, what you like about it. I have a small history in running. I did the 400 in track, so I'm
Mhm.
interested to see to hear about what you enjoy about it and how
Yeah.
things have been going.
Everyone asks me why I like running. Well, so the funny thing is, running it, or how I started running, is one of the, most interesting stories, or a lot of my stories, like with how I started cardistry or how I started photography, I would say they're pretty uninteresting, because there's not one moment where I realized I'm gonna do cards or I'm gonna take pictures. I just thought, oh, it was cool, and it just happened. But with running, how it happened was, I was at my school in the beginning of the year. There's a big event that happens. It's where you like there's all the clubs that happen at the school. They had like tables and set up, and so you can look at all the clubs and see what clubs there are and see if you want to join them and things like that. And so on that day, I was with friends and I saw the cross country running club, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And that at that time, my brother, um, I think he was like a year into running, and he was on the cross country team. And so when I got home, I had a bunch of flyers, and I was like, "Oh, look at this cool running club." And then my brother, he just said, "Oh no, you'll never run. You can't do that." And then so I took that and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna prove him wrong. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna join the club. I'll make sure my brother knows that I can run too. I can do it too. And so when I started running, you know, I never like before that club, I never really had a problem with running. Like a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, I hate running. It's so
Mhm.
bad. I don't like it." But I didn't really like it. I just didn't have a problem with it. So if like my coach or like if I was on a team or something and my coach was like, "Oh, you guys did something bad, run a lap," like, okay, whatever. And so when I joined the running club, it was very relaxing to me. It was like just a freeing way. It's like cardistry. It was like a way for me to relax and just enjoy it. And so as I ran more, I really there's something about running and like completing runs that it feels satisfying. You're like, oh yes, I ran like 5 miles that day, or I ran that day, And so I really enjoy that. And some parts of running, it's tough, and I feel like I don't want to do it anymore. But that doesn't last too long, and otherwise, it's very relaxing and enjoyable for me. And one thing I really like about running, so I really like with running, I really like I'm best at long distance like endurance running. So like my I race like the mile race and anything longer than that.
Mhm.
Um and so I think I'm really skilled at like um this is ironic, but I feel like I'm really skilled at, just running for a long amount of time. Um, which is funny because, with most other things, with most other things, I'm really like impatient. Like waiting for packages in the mail or something like that. I just can't wait. But
Yeah.
with running, there's something about it. I can go a really long time. Um, as long as like I have water or something like that. Um, but yeah, with it's just very like freeing. And if I'm stressed and I go out for a run, I forget about everything. And once I come back, you know, I realize I have a test tomorrow or whatever. But when I'm running, I don't think about that, so it's really nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will hear like running is
Hmm.
relaxing, and they don't really understand.
Hmm.
But like once your body gets used to it, and like
Yeah,
it's almost like this like state of mind where you're just free, and like
yeah,
you're just looking forward and you're just going forward. Like there's nothing else.
yeah.
Or
Like
maybe
with
you're listening to music and enjoying it.
yeah.
But like it's it becomes more of a mind thing than a physical enjoyment, at least for me when I was doing it.
Hmm. Yeah, like with most other things, you just have to start, and even in the beginning, when when you want to start running or something, it's tough. But once you get yeah, you're once like you said, once your body get used to it, um, it's really relaxing, and you can run just consistently, and it really like I like to say running is like 90% mind, right? Because when you're running, like like sometimes you feel like you can't go any longer, or like you're super tired, like, oh my goodness, my legs can't move any longer. But there's always that one part um in the back of your brain that if you like it's like a next level, like you unleash the bonus level, and then you get to run more. It's like that.
Yeah, it's like you get the star in Mario and you're just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like runner's high basically? Have you like experienced that?
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten that sometimes. Like, um, one day, like I have a really good run, and then I'm just like I'm pumped and I'm excited for the next day, and so I like run a lot, or not a lot, but like really consistently.
Hmm.
And then other times, I don't feel like running at all, and that happens. You know, it's part of it. But I just no matter what, I don't let myself stop, because I know if I stop for too long, then I'm just going to completely lose it and I'm not going to be able to get back up, or at least it's going to be really hard to get back up to running. And so, yeah, I when I get like runner's high, I really like to embrace it and enjoy it when it lasts. And when I'm in a rut, I just try to just do the minimum of what I can do and then try to get back up to my normal consistency.
Hmm. Just just in general, being to do something like that you don't necessarily want to do in the moment to reap
Hmm.
the rewards in the long run is a very important,
Yeah.
I guess, skill. Um, Look at us, we're getting into like life topics now. Um, it is very important.
Yeah.
So you said you primarily run distance. Do you do the 5K? Do you do cross country
Yeah.
and track or just?
So yeah, in cross country, I usually run. Well, in cross country, yeah, cross country, I think um, is my best area. With track and the mile, I feel like the mile and like 2 mile are like the longest track distances. I haven't ran the 2 mile yet. I'm excited to try, but with the mile, it's a little different to me because you're there's it's relatively long for track, and so there's still an endurance part of it, but there's also like speed and sprinting, and so I'm trying to get better at that. But I think my best races are in like 5K to 10K, because I can last a long time. Because like I'm not good at sprinting. Maybe if I try, I can, but like it takes me a while to get started. Like I don't have a good sprint start,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So like I can't beat someone in 100-yard dash because I can't get off the line fast enough, but I can outrun someone in 6 miles, and last longer than them. So that's probably one of my skills.
Mm-hmm. With the mile and 2 mile on track too, you just round and round in circles.
Yeah.
It's boring. More so than like running in nature on a
Yeah.
road or something.
Yeah, speaking of that, last week or this past week, I ran with a few members of the team at Mammoth, in California, to get altitude and hills. So it's a good way to get a good running base for your fitness. And but the trails are they're really tough because some hills were really steep and long, but you could really enjoy the view of the trails. It was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget, like I run the same route around my neighborhood, and I don't realize like how much running could be better if you went to a nice scenery and ran, because it just running just flies by when you're running in a nice place. Like time flies and you forget how long you've run, and all of a sudden you've run like 8 miles or something. Yeah. So.
Have you found that like obviously like photography and video editing, photo editing has inspired you in cardistry, but have you found like running or anything outside of that kind of realm has an impact on what you do with cards?
Yeah. So um I would say one big thing was music. Like I've said before, I used to play I used to play the guitar, and I took lessons, but I feel like I wasn't too into it. Um, I really like listening to music, and I liked the idea that I could, play a song on the guitar, but I just didn't have the willpower to practice that much, and so I kind of stopped. But I'm really interested in music because it's it's like it's something that you don't have to really understand it to enjoy it, you know? Like you hear something and it just, you know, you tap your foot to the rhythm or something like that, and you don't really, you can't explain it, but you really enjoy it. And so I'm really um like amazed by music and musicians and the different things they do. And so recently I've been like really like trying to um, learn how to like make music or something like that, because that's really interesting to me. But that's been put to the back of the list for now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think music is an inspiration for everybody, probably,
yeah,
especially in getting into the state of mind to where you can kind of create. Um, I like to try to like stay up late and then listen to like the weirdest music I can find, and then that usually seems to work to help
uh,
make moves. But um, so I think we've hit all the main topics that I want to talk about, except for one. So this is kind of just going to jump back to cardistry a little bit. But you've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different brands and show off a lot of different cards. Is there any dream collaboration that you would want to have with anybody in Pacific that you haven't, cardistry related or not?
yeah. That yeah. It's I everything just came like all at once. It was really bizarre. So if it's okay, I'll start where I started with working with companies. And so my very first experience with I would like working with the company, like the very beginning, I don't know if I would even consider it as working with the company, but it's when I won, I think it was last year in the summer, I won Free Orbit Friday, you know, with the Orbit deck contest with the picture. I had I like did a cool flourish and I took a picture, and then with the Orbit V7s, the green ones, and I like photoshopped myself like floating around, and it was all spacey themed. And so I won with that picture, and you know, I won a free deck, and that like it it made me realize again, like with Cardistry Con, it made me realize like I can I can get to that level too if I work hard enough. And so in March, um, in March was my first time I experienced someone reaching out to me, and that was Luke Wadey, from Luke Wadey Design, his company, um, and he wanted to work with me, and that was my first ever time any company or anyone asked me to work with me, and I was like, wow, like I'm that I'm my videos and my pictures are that good enough to where people want their decks to be in my videos. And I've seen Luke's card. I was at that point, I've seen his cards, Luke's cards before, and I was like, wow, those are pretty nice. um and so he worked with me, and then um I don't know if that was like a big moment, but I mean, that I think of that as a big moment, but I don't know how other people see it. But then after that, all of a sudden, like people started reaching out to me, and they're like, wow, I really like your videos, can I work with you? And so I would say one of my one of my like I'm one of my dream collaborations um would definitely be Orbit, um uh, because I really like the style of the deck and the way the company um, works. I really appreciate it. And I mean, the closest I've ever gotten was with that one video I made with the Orbit V7s. It was like the ad type video, that one Free Orbit Friday. And I got a bunch of decks from that. I won a bunch of decks. That was crazy. Um, but that just goes to show like how like kind and like thoughtful Chris is, um in Orbit. Like he's not just about making cards, he wants something that people can enjoy and connect over with his decks, and so I really appreciate that. um and otherwise, I mean, I've always looked up to Gemini Deck's cards, and I've gotten to work with them too, so that's amazing. And I just there are like so many um like there's so many people out there that are doing amazing things, and it's just amazing community to be a part of. So yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about like how it all kind of it happened at once,
Yeah.
I think you might want to view it as you. It's been a long process. Like you've been
Hmm.
making videos and learning and growing for so
Yeah.
long. A lot of people when they first start out, they're like, just give me new decks. Like
Yeah.
they immediately like want that. But it's something you kind of have to grow.
Hmm.
So congrats on that. I think you've been making really great content. I actually like I thought I was following you because your stuff pops up so much,
Oh yeah.
and I didn't realize that I wasn't following you. And I was like, when we before when I was talking to you to do this, I was like, oh crap! So I hit that.
Yeah.
But like your stuff like flows out into like the search feed and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's very cool. Um, Before we go to a rapid round of questions, which is what we usually do at the end of the show, is there anything that you want to elaborate on that we talked about, or anything you want to discuss just in general?
Um,
It's fine.
I huh. I want to say um that with how I've like the point how I've gotten to this point, it's really crazy. Like I never I never would have imagined that I would have gotten to work with all these companies. And it's like in the beginning when um I started out just because I wanted to. I thought photo and video and cards was cool, and even now I really keep that with me. I don't want to turn this hobby into something that I have to do. I want to keep it as a hobby and keep it something that I can really enjoy. And so I recommend, like, if anyone's like, oh, how do I get more followers or how do I get more views? Like sometimes I catch myself like, oh, I wish I had more followers, or I wish I some more people saw this. But I make sure to remind myself the reason I started Instagram and the reason I started photo was just so I can share my art and the way I like to enhance cardistry. And so I want to keep it that way. And like recently I've had a lot of time, you know, to
Yeah,
make a lot of content and edit a lot of videos. And so whenever school becomes normal again, I will have to manage my time again, but it'll be that one thing I can go back to that I'll always enjoy, and where I can just free my mind of all stress, unless my computer crashes when I'm editing. Yeah.
yeah. I think Orbit said in Decking Around in one of their interviews, like forcing yourself to do something, anything creative, is like the number one way to kill it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think just focusing on enjoying the art and making what you want to do is very important. So I'm glad you brought that up. So for those of you who haven't watched the show before, we usually end with a rapid round of questions, um, which are random in nature and can be cardistry related or not. So the goal is to answer these kind of as quick as you can. So I'm going to set the timer for, we'll say 8 minutes, and then we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. Does that sound good?
Okay.
All right. So let me open up. I have this spin the wheel app, which doesn't really show
Okay.
up. I've noticed.
Yeah.
These are truly random questions. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
Yes, my favorite restaurant, it's called Gyukaku. It's a Japanese barbecue restaurant, and they have really good um meats.
Hmm. Favorite unoriginal move, a move you haven't made?
Favorite unoriginal move that always changes with me, but at the moment it's Aura. It's a really cool pharaoh, and then it's like a really cool display. It's like it's like um cascade, but it's
Hmm.
like it goes this way. That's my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
at the
I got
moment.
it. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Uh, Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, Shoot. It's always changing, but my favorite that will always stay a favorite is Home Alone 1 and 2.
Great movies. This is a popular one on the show for some reason. Toilet paper over or under?
Oh, I mean over, definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's been the general
Yeah.
consensus. I don't think anybody's said under yet.
Yeah.
So next question. This is a two-parter. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? And then would you use it for good or evil?
Oh, okay. So I'll
Somewhere around that.
definitely use it for good. I there's something my friends always say I'm super nice and super kind, but for me, I say it like I just can't be mean. It's hard for me to be mean.
Uh-huh.
So my superpower, that it'd be really cool. Telekinesis to move things with my mind. That'd be really cool. Then I could do cardistry without hands.
Yep,
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
yeah.
Or you could just put on like a green suit and just get in
Oh
front of
yeah.
them, and then you can fake it. Favorite move that is that you've made, and can you show it?
Hmm. Well, actually, I just recently started trying to make my own
Mhm.
moves. And so at the moment, this is my favorite. Here, let's see. I can't perform it super well, but I'll try my best. It goes boom. Uh, and then it's like
Oh yeah, that's nice.
boom. And then I don't know if this is the best closer, but that's what I've got. And so I really like the flare with the single cards. So at the moment, that's my favorite and technically my only original move.
Mhm.
I've gotten a few other cool like opener ideas, but that's what I've got for now.
The opening part was very nice. So if
Yeah.
you smooth that out, I think it would be very uh, impactful. Android or iPhone?
iPhone. That's all I've done for now.
Do you have a favorite band slash music?
um, favorite band slash music. Right now, my favorite artist is Christian French. I really like his songs. So if you don't know him, check it out.
uh, Favorite type of food, like in general, like Italian, Mexican, Japanese, whatever.
Everything's always changing for me, but right now my favorite is Japanese food, but any any Japanese food is always my favorite, but right now it's fried rice.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I just really like fried rice.
So we took a point in the podcast or video earlier to talk about some of your favorite decks. Is there a
Hmm.
deck that you just despise or dislike?
I don't There's some decks. Well, I think a lot of cardistry is opinion based. So there's there there's definitely going to be some decks that I don't I don't enjoy, or like I don't the or like the style of the deck design doesn't fit me. Um, but I guess there's not really one specific deck that I can point out that I've seen recently that I don't like. Um, Especially because if I don't like it, then I probably won't remember it. But most decks that are like too busy, I think, um, is something that it doesn't fit for me.
So sorry about that, guys at home, but we were having some Wi-Fi issues. I think I'm not sure. So I think we'll just kind of end it here since hopefully we won't have to deal with that anymore. Um, so thank you, Andrew, for being on. Is there anything that you would like to promote or say to the audience to end it off?
Um, well, if you like my videos, then maybe check out some of my stuff. Um, but I think just remember that if you want to get started in making videos or doing things like that, all you have to do is just start and keep on learning a bunch of stuff, and you'll keep on improving your skills just like I am.
All right. Thanks, Andrew, for being on. I'll have links to all his stuff in the description. Um, really appreciate you coming on. Bye, guys.